curse of cock, once implanted, caused the inflicted to suffer terrible nightmares, nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea, and, somewhat ironically, erectile dysfunction. The cause is unknown, but the relation to similar curses cannot be denied. The curse can be lifted by... The fuck? Do you mind? I'm in the middle of a scene here. Are you fucking kidding? I already did the whole series. The remakes don't count. Fine. Can't argue with a mute, I guess. Except maybe after this movie, considering the new powers that they give Michael. Fuck it, anyway. Hello, World Wide Web. I'm Dr. Shado, the internet personality of the Hex Hair. And evidently, we are continuing...
The Summer of Halloween!
And after Halloween Resurrection left the series irreparably damaged, it took a while for them to come up with a sequel and things were really up in the air. Depending on who you ask, there were talks for either a prequel or an in-between-quel or even a remake, and then our good friend Rob Zombie got involved. Eventually, what did finally happen in 2007 was a remake of Halloween, written, directed, and produced by Rob Zombie. And being a remake, you pretty much know the synopsis already. Kid kills his sister, grows up, kills a few more people. Not to say that Rob Zombie didn't mix things up a bit. Or a lot. In this version, we spend a lot more time watching Michael as a child, and his life in the sanitarium. That's also true of a certain TV edit of the original movie, but there's a lot we learn about the kid this time around. Possibly because he actually does talk to Dr. Loomis about his thoughts and feelings. Yeah, he talks. A lot. So, now that I've set your expectations disappointingly low, let's take a look at Rob Zombie's Halloween and see what the hell else he did to it. After a quote from Loomis saying that evil among good is somehow eviler than evil among evil, I guess in the same way that salt makes a watermelon sweeter, we hit the opening theme. With considerably more electric guitar and a lot less creep factor or uniqueness. That's a great start. This is the Myers house, home to Michael, rat enthusiast, played by Dag Fierch, his stepfather Ronnie White, played by William Forsythe, Mother Deborah, played by Rob Zombie's wife, Sherry Moon Zombie, and the baby. Family life is about as dysfunctional as possible, with Ronnie talking about that affair he wants to get started.
I hope she likes cripples.
Bitch, I will crawl over there and I will skull fuck the shit out of you!
Oh, I'll get the crutches for you.
What do you know, the crying baby is the least annoying character on screen. It's kind of impressive. But let's not forget there's also Judith Myers, played by Hannah Hall, whom Ronnie then creeps over as if we need any more reasons to want him dead. Judith, however, establishes her unlikability by refusing to eat eggs.
They're chicken abortions and they're fucking gross.
They are not chicken abortions.
You know what an abortion is.
It's like everyone in this movie wakes up in the morning and says, "Ha! I'm gonna be the biggest asshole I can be!" I guess Michael is just a bit of an overachiever. As for Michael, the best part of waking up is murdering the shit out of your pet rodent for no discernible reason. Of course, in this family, that kind of behavior doesn't even seem remotely concerning.
Give me a fucking break, he's probably a queer. He's gonna grow up, end up cutting his dick and balls off and changing his name to Michelle.
I'm a little more concerned about his father checking off every single trope on the asshole character they can find to worry about Michael working on his future as an Orkin man. After about one more minute of back and forth with his family, establishing nothing really except everyone's an asshole and the camera angles are really fucking close in, Michael goes to school. Well, more people to interact with. Maybe now we'll find someone who isn't reprehensible.
What fucking pussy, dude? I told you he wouldn't fight that. He's all fucking tough.
Yeah, about as easily as we can find a legitimate copyright claim on YouTube. Trying to exit the bathroom without washing his hands, Michael is stopped by Wesley Rhodes, played by Daryl Sabara. Not just because he's a school bully and this is the kind of shit he does, but he is especially targeting Michael today, what with the fact that Michael's mother is a stripper, and they just so happen to use her picture for the newspaper ads.
I was thinking of making copies of Mommy for the whole school.
Right, it's in the paper. Everyone in town already has a copy. If you want to pass it around school, that's one thing, but if you're thinking of making more copies, you're just wasting your fucking time. Of course, this leads to a fight, which ends up getting the attention of the school principal.
What the hell is going on here?
Is that the Myers boy? Move over, I want to beat his ass too! Just about. As after he gets the bullies off the kid, Michael just tells him, "Fuck you," for some reason. Well, that way Myers can be the one to get in trouble. Really wouldn't think that Michael Myers would be the kind of guy to not know when to keep his mouth shut. Anyway, they call his mother in from her job and introduce our handy-dandy child psychiatrist, Dr. Loomis. He works fast. Played by Malcolm McDowell. The school seems to think that Michael might be a troubled kid. Not because everyone in town is a fucking asshole or the principal siding with the bullies over him, but rather...
We found this in Michael's school bag.
Come on, big deal. He found a dead cat.
Mrs. Myers, it is in a plastic bag. Very dangerous to children and sea creatures alike. I'll have you know, last week in the cafeteria, I hear your boy requested the use of a straw. Or that's the angle we're going on to establish how evil Michael Myers truly is, that he murders poor defenseless animals. Normally such behavior would disgust me, but going by how this town works so far, I'm pretty sure those are bad dogs anyway. No bother, this troubled kid they're oh so worried about can easily just get the fuck out of there while they talk, so we can get back to the bullies. Indeed, Wesley does intend to waste his time and make dozens of copies of the picture that already has at least hundreds of copies in circulation. However, he also happens to go home alone, through the woods, very much off the beaten path. Well, not so beaten until now. I mean, yeah, he's got his flaws, but Michael's still clearly the good guy here. Still not the brightest. I know I keep mentioning it, but seriously, that's an advertisement. Even if it's just one printing, that shit's already everywhere, kid. Ah well, at least Wesley won't be around to see it. The point is, tonight's the night. Halloween! And Michael is ready to go trick and or treating. If not for the fact that his stepdad is an asshole, his sister can't come down to take him yet, and of course...
I really shouldn't even let you go after that shit you pulled today at school.
Oh, come on, Mom, it was just one kid, and he was an asshole anyway! Michael, every kid in town is an asshole. No bother, Mommy's on his side, but oh, damn it! It seems Judith doesn't give a fuck about her little brother or his desires to go trick-or-treating. She's got teen fucking to take care of, along with her boyfriend, Steve, played by Adam Wiseman. So we have sad music and sad stripping and sad Michael while Judith and Steve do their own sad shit, with Steve having a surprise planned. A mask.
Open.
Wow.
Yeah, the Friday the 13th movie did hurry things along, introducing both Jason and the mask very damn quickly, but it's still gotta say something when the characters almost literally pull the damn thing out of their asses. Despite his tiny trick-or-treat pail and lack of sisterly help, Michael does get some candy. A paltry haul of mostly fucking candy corn. Okay, I think we all understand why he became a serial killer. Of course, it probably didn't help that his costume was a dollar store mask and a clown-themed Christmas sweater, but he figures the night's not a total waste. After all, his stepdad is right over there and totally wasted, and he can give him the prank of his life, duct taping him to his recliner, for as long as he shall live. Honestly, if he was that wasted, I'm surprised he even woke up for that. I mean, depending on the Halloween movie, a slit throat is either instant collapse or wide a fucking wake. With him dead, it's time for the boyfriend to finish up, but instead of his Lightning McQueen performance of the first movie, this time he decides to stick around, walking past the unassuming taped-up corpse for a stop-off in the kitchen. For the rest of his life! I was wondering for a second if Michael was going to beat him to death, how the hell his sister wasn't going to hear it. Nothing like a good old-fashioned concussion. And we can assume the rest of this very vigorous beating is drowned out by that music that she's listening to upstairs. Of course, when Michael finally shows up, her strangely wearing more clothes than she was in the original, she would like to know first and foremost what the fuck he's doing in there wearing her boyfriend's extremely convenient mask.
Answer me. Michael? Michael! Answer me! What the fuck? Michael! Answer!
Well, actions do speak louder than words. And it also helps they tend to make the soundtrack kick in. Following her into the hallway, Michael finishes his sister off like the true hero he is. Come on, every single one of these fuckers had it coming for a while. Besides, that baby sister he has, he doesn't kill her. Instead, waiting on the front porch for his mother to come home from work. with one of her Johns, but that's hardly a poor mark on her in this town. However, Michael won't answer her, and after discovering the house chock full of horribly murdered family members, the police arrive, and the whole emergency response team is so shocked by the gruesome scene, they, all decide to do an impromptu mannequin challenge, I guess. Well, we all cope with things in our own way. You could just call that a year. Or hell, if we're going for more specific, 339 days later, 10:13 a.m. Point is, 1 year later and he's at the sanitarium and it seems just now getting sessions with our good friend, Dr. Loomis.
Hello. Can you talk a minute?
Well, Loomis, you're in for a hell of a surprise then.
Hi, I'm Michael Myers.
Okay, that's fine.
Or, fuck, well, I am, I guess. Yeah, Michael keeps talking now. I mean, yeah, he was quiet earlier, but now he just keeps talking well after the killings, well after the old Loomis, played by Donald Pleasance, established that he didn't speak a fucking word while at the sanitarium. Well, now he does, because he does. Despite his linguistic capabilities, though, Michael still stonewalls Loomis, saying he doesn't remember anything about that night, except maybe going out trick-or-treating and getting some shitty candy. What murders? Can I go home? This doesn't get him anywhere with Loomis, or the occasional visits by his mother, but he does have one friend in the cold, harsh world, Danny Trejo. Talk about quality over quantity.
You gotta look beyond the walls. Learn to live inside your head. Hey, there's no walls that can stop you there.
I mean, he's pretty much giving the pep talk, you can do anything you want as long as you believe in yourself, to Charles Manson, but, I mean, that's hardly the worst thing anyone's done in this movie. After getting possibly the first self-esteem boost of his life, Michael slowly begins to express himself more, by talking less and less and wearing masks more and more often. Eventually, it gets to the point where he actually stops talking altogether. Finally. It does mean his mother is not as enthused to come down and check on him, and Loomis feels he's failed the child, but oh well, let's leave him alone in the cafeteria with a random nurse who turns her back on the kid. What's the worst that could happen? Oh, just a shining example as to why inmates only have access to plastic silverware in real-life situations like this. Hell, why not just give him a steak knife? Or, fuck, while you're at it, a hunting rifle to get his lunch in the first place.
It was at this moment he knew. He fucked up.
Considering his track record, that random nurse probably went around on her off days getting wasted and punching babies. With Michael completely shut off from the world and his murderous tendencies being very well established, his mother figures there's only one thing she can do. Skip the movie ahead to adult Michael, because there's only so much hammering home the same points over and over again we can take. Well, with the passing of time comes the passing of torches, as Danny Trejo has to train the new recruit.
I suppose that's because you're a hard worker. Most of you people are. All your women keep your little bungalows clean, sweep off the dirt floors.
For fuck's sake, everyone in Haddonfield ought to be walking around with little greeting stickers on their shirts. Fuck off, my name is none of your business, dickhead. Hell, even after Danny points out that this giant, dangerous-looking motherfucker they have to transport in chains doesn't really like it when people touch his impressive collection of handmade masks.
I'll come in here and fuck this place up one night. You watch.
So Michael's going to continue being the good guy. Got it. This is the last day that Loomis will be looking over Myers, and he's heartbroken. He really wanted to get through to him, but in all that time, Michael hasn't said a word. Except all that time early on that he did, but just ignore that. With Michael doomed to be tormented by his broken mind for the rest of his life, Loomis copes the only way he knows how. By writing a best-selling expose about Michael Myers. He explains, in case you didn't catch all that explanation up to this point, it was his bad childhood that is to blame. Having a bad father and stripper mother is all it takes. Which means I should be going around murdering my siblings, but oh well.
Thus creating a psychopath that knows no boundaries.
Psychopath is born, a sociopath is made. Think of it like a steak versus a lab-grown Frankenburger. Speaking of things absolutely horrifying that nobody asked for, our new guard brings his drunken friend over to the sanitarium so they can have a good old-fashioned rape of one of the new psychiatric patients. Just about every single thing in that situation is no! You can't possibly come up with a worse way to spend your evening!
Mikey.
So, yeah, they, brought her into Michael's room to rape her. And no, I'm not gonna show it. It's 40 seconds and about 2 minutes too long, if you ask me, so let's just skip to the good part. So yeah, Michael's still the good guy here. Not all heroes wear masks. But I guess some do. You know what? Turning Michael Myers into the good guy wasn't exactly my first thought when it comes to remaking Halloween, but I gotta say that kill was pretty satisfying. Michael also murders the receptionist off screen, but by his track record so far, I'll just assume she spent her days off downloading songs illegally or something. However, Myers is eventually discovered by Danny Trejo, the one virtuous person in all of Haddonfield. So he really hasn't earned a horror death or paid for it 500 times over like the rest of these assholes. However, he is trying to get Michael back in his cell. Okay, so yeah, he's injured him, but as long as he doesn't kill Danny, Michael's still pretty okay in my book. Huh. Okay, so they finally established that Michael Myers is indeed evil. Only took him almost a fucking hour. That ringing phone was a call to Loomis, as even though he's moved on from caring about Michael to selling books about him, he's still important, so he must know. We, however, must know where Myers gets his nifty outfit. So a trucker, Big Joe Grizzly, played by Ken Foree, stops to fill up and empty out, giving Myers the perfect chance to catch him with his pants down, murdering the shit out of him! And it's always hard to explain how he can stab a guy to death, and yet the coveralls are all relatively clean. Now I'm just wondering how he didn't get any other bodily fluids in them. Dressed to kill, Michael heads to Haddonfield, which brings up the all-important question of where exactly did his little sister go? That introduces us to Laurie Strode, played by Scott Taylor Compton.
Mr. Nichols touched me the wrong way. Oh, Mom!
Okay, that is so not funny.
You want a screwdriver, Mommy? You want a hammer? Look at this, Mom.
Laurie!
And already you can tell she grew up in Haddonfield. Okay, Michael can come kill her ass now, I really don't care anymore. But we have to watch the events of the original movie unfold, reimagined by Rob Zombie. So off to school Laurie goes, meeting up with Tommy along the way, now played by Skylar Gizondo. Also, she still drops that key off at the Myers place for her realtor friend. Her father. Friends with her father, who owns a realty business.
Chill, spaz, monkey. Thanks. There's no place to screw around with.
And the reason Michael Myers is in his old house is because that's where he stashed the mask and knife under the floorboards. Not the clown mask, the dead sister's boyfriend dead mask thing. I guess even he realized that that clown costume was horrifying for all the wrong reasons. Of course, Laurie has her two friends, Linda and Annie, played by Christina Klebb, and the OG Jamie Strode herself, Danielle Harris. The conversations cover the same basic points. Babysitting times, partying with boyfriends equals horror movie setting. Dr. Loomis, however, is busy figuring something out far more important. Oh yeah, there's that whole escape Michael Myers problem and yada yada, but Donald Pleasance is a tough act to follow, so he's gonna need some good damn quotes if he hopes to do the role justice. How about one about how the sanitarium staff swear they didn't know he'd escape and couldn't possibly know where he is?
It must be great living in denial. I must try it sometime.
Nice. Very nice. I'm gonna have to use that one sometime. Not in a clip in a review, just in general day-to-day conversations. Loomis knows he must go to Haddonfield right away. I mean, we already knew that, but the movie does have to establish these things. Of course, without Myers having to get his mask from robbing a store, how exactly are they going to establish that Annie is Sheriff Brackett's daughter?
Hey, asshole! Hey, my daddy's the sheriff!
Ah, crudely, with no build-up, of course. In case you missed that, Lee Brackett drives up right after. Played by Brad Dourif, he picks his daughter up and drives her the rest of the way home. Not the craziest change, after all. Instead of going to Annie's babysitting gig to party and have teen sex, Linda and her boyfriend Bob, played by Nick Menell, are instead going to party and have teen sex in the Myers house! It's like a competition in this movie to see who can make the worst fucking decisions. And well, Bob might have won that, all things considered. That's what you get for stealing his bit, Bob. The man doesn't have that many talents. He can't afford to be upstaged. Bob is also one of those conveniently quiet victims, putting up a fight but not screaming or slamming his fist into the wall loud or anything. After all, he's got to get pinned to the wall in a way that defies physics. You know, like he was in the first movie, so throwback. Yeah, this point of the movie is really like the first, but with more brutality and nudity, if that's your thing.
Yes, Daddy!
What? We do still explain that which needs no explaining, though, and which ends up getting more confusing with the new explanation, such as how Loomis got his 6-shooter. He went to a gun store in Haddonfield that very night.
I'm in a bit of a hurry, If you could just wrap it up, that'd be great.
Well, alright, just fill out your information on this Nick's background check so we can run that and come back in 3 days, because we can't legally give you a handgun without a 72-hour waiting period. I wonder how the hell Loomis expects to stop Michael this time. I asked him 6 times! We also have to up the body count a tad. After all, the original didn't have much of one, so where's a spare character or two no one cares about that can be killed as soon as they no longer are plot relevant? Ha! Of course, Laurie's foster parents! Well, he's not getting any candy. Finishing off her foster mother to boot, we get back to the babysitting gig to see that, just like before, Annie is also babysitting tonight. The youngster Lindsay, played by Jenny Gregg Stewart. Okay, you did establish that Michael is evil, but not that evil. As such, she is safely whisked away over to the house Laurie is babysitting at, so that Annie and Laurie can talk about the all-important goal of getting Laurie laid.
I talked to Paul about his buddy Ben Tramer. Ah, they said Ben Tramer was retarded. Yeah, but he's not short bus retarded or anything.
Yeah, Danny Trejo really was the only motherfucker in the whole movie that wasn't an asshole. Yes, even including Dr. Loomis. Remember how he monetized the fuck out of that tragedy with a best-selling book? Because Sheriff Brackett does, and isn't interested in aiding and abetting the good doctor in pursuit of a sequel. Eventually, Loomis convinces him to begrudgingly enforce the law. Well, we do have one more difference from the original movie. Thanks to the acting of Max Van Vil, we actually get to see Paul! For a few seconds, anyway. Such is the issue with high body counts, we don't really get to know the people he's killing. Who is Paul? Why is it such a big deal for a knife to go into him? Does he have a personal distaste for knives going into him? I'll never know. And he at least puts up a fight, but it's putting up a fight against Michael Myers, and unless you're Laurie Strode, or more specifically Jamie Lee Curtis, don't expect a favorable outcome there. Then again, Michael actually doesn't kill her. Laurie brings Lindsay back over to see all the dead bodies and naked babysitter she needs to scar her for life, but Annie's still breathing. With that in mind, though, it shouldn't be too surprising to find out that Michael hasn't gone far and is here to take Laurie out. However, Laurie did manage to call the police, and they arrive to help. No, the body count doesn't need any help, especially not from Officer Miscellaneous. With him out of the way, though, Myers captures Laurie. Yeah, just captures. You know you're in the climax because while he's been trying to kill her like all this time, suddenly he's not very good at it. He did make that diorama, though, so that's something. Michael trying to point out the obvious, that Laurie is in fact the Myers baby from the first half of the movie, though, doesn't work as she has no idea what he means. Oh well, plan B.
You motherfucker!
Oh, a prick! My one weakness. Big surprise, that didn't work, which results in your usual running around dark corridors away from the slasher villain until Laurie winds up in the pool, cornered by Myers. Don't worry though, Dr. Loomis has shown up to save the day!
Stop! Stop! Michael! Stop!
He only had to shoot him 3 times. I don't know if they remake this movie again, will the light prick actually work? So Loomis scoops Laurie up out of the pool and brings her back into the car. Myers might have butchered half the town, but that doesn't mean there isn't more butchering left to do.
Is that the boogeyman?
As a matter of fact, I do believe it was.
I like the pause in his delivery there. It's like, God, that was terrible. Do I finish the line, or do I just ignore her? Myers isn't going to ignore her, showing the gunfire didn't take him out not by disappearing into the night, but by attacking the 2 of them once more. This leads to even more running down dark corridors while being chased by a slasher villain. Loomis gets beaten down in short order, which means it's all down to Laurie. But wait, Loomis gave her his coat, which means she has his gun, and can use it to establish that somehow the cylinder got rotated at some point just enough to strike the 3 empty chambers in a row before she can actually get to an unfired cartridge. And that, kids, is why you should always wear ear protection. I swear I got tinnitus from that girl screaming behind me in the Jacksepticeye How Did We Get Here tour. But yeah, that's it. She shoots him. The end. Roll credits. Spliced with home video footage of Michael Myers as a child. You know, that part that nobody really cared about. Except Rob Zombie, I guess. But anyway, that was Rob Zombie's Halloween. And it's got more than its share of problems. But I'm still gonna get shit for liking it too much. There are good points of this movie, and they're a bit easier to itemize than the negatives, so let's get started. First of all, it is paced relatively well. The kills are shot in a way that works, in my opinion, much better than the original, where the kills were all pretty damn silly looking. Also, while the child actors in the original were just about as bland as you'd expect, here they actually have some pretty decent acting chops. I actually enjoyed the scenes with Tommy and Lindsay. When it comes to the bad, though, oh, holy hell. Was the town of Haddonfield populated by unlikable ass faces through and through? There were hardly any characters in this movie worth rooting for. Dr. Loomis and Danny Trejo are the 2 that come to mind. Everyone else? Fuck them. Fuck the bully, fuck the family, fuck the teenagers, and fuck Laurie Strode while you're at it. Not only did this Halloween movie humanize Michael Myers, it gave us every reason to root for him instead of Laurie. That's not a good look. That brings up the humanizing Michael Myers part. Really, really bad idea. Slasher villains are best when they're straight up evil, and while Michael Myers might not have been the most fleshed out character initially, that worked for him because the mystery surrounding him meant that while we didn't know why he was pure evil, he was in fact pure evil, no question. Not only is there some Shane Dawson sociopath explanation shit in here, but like I said earlier, the state bird is a middle finger. Michael's murderous rampage seems less evil and more anti-hero. At the end of the day, Rob Zombie's Halloween is a decent enough horror movie, and it can be an entertaining slasher movie in its own right, especially if you're into Rob Zombie's work and his style already. But both for better and worse, it really doesn't recreate the feel of the original movie. When the classic Halloween theme kicks in, it's actually jarring, reminding you that, oh yeah, this is supposed to be Halloween. Still, it does its job decently enough, with good pacing and cinematography, coming in at 3 miscellaneous victims that, all things considered, probably had it coming, out of 5. No disrespect for Shane, by the way. I think I know what you were going for there with the build-up, but it's kinda hard for that to work on the internet when people have to wait several days for the resolution. But anyway, thank you all for watching. I have been Dr. Shado, and remember, don't break into the Myers house to have drunken teen sex. It's not safe. I didn't think that's something I'd have to tell people, but evidently I do. Alright, now where were we? Okay, the curse of cock can be lifted by following the ritual of cleansing. Oh, great, now I gotta look at the cleansing ritual. Okay. The cleansing ritual can be revealed by reviewing the entire Halloween movie series, including Rob Zombie's Halloween and its sequel before Halloween of that year. I was gonna fucking do that anyway! Jesus Christ, this is why I hate when reviewers try to cram stories into their fucking review series. It's so stupid!
great living in denial. I must try it sometime.